this could be us. So back to what I was saying. Could be us.
Hello YouTube, Dave here from 3 Squad Mining, and first of all I just want to say thank you very much to the 10 followers so far. That's kind of amazing to me since I've only been recording videos for a few days. It might not seem like a lot to anybody, but certainly to me it means a lot, so thank you for that. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about JASMINER. I see I put a lot of time and effort into researching the JASMINER before we decided to buy one, because they are quite expensive. So today I wanted to go across some of the positives and some of the negatives of the JASMINER. I want to point out to you where you can buy a JASMINER from, what's legitimate, what's not legitimate, and the costs, etc. So the first thing I might hop into is the official website for JASMINER. It is jasminer.com, not jasminer.org or jasminer.cn or any other such nonsense. Jasminer.com is the place where you should be going, and from here you'll be able to have a look at all the products that they offer. The next thing that you'll notice on the JASMINER website here is in the About Us section. They list two sellers, Jingle Mining, and which is the global partner, and this is the partner Black King Kong from Thailand. Now I can't vouch for this, but it is on their website, so it does seem legitimate. However, Sunrays Infotech Limited, which is Jingle Mining, certainly are valid. This is where we bought our JASMINER from, and if we ever decide to buy more, this is where we'll be buying them through, because they are legitimate. They shipped exactly when they said they were going to ship, and additionally they provided an invoice. We got the warranty with it. It was boxed really nicely, and it came within 2 weeks. And from China to Germany, going through customs is something that takes some time, but overall the process was really quite smooth. So that's about the official website. I have noticed that the English on their website isn't that great, but they do some weird things, like this attention thing about fake websites and whatnot. I mean, yeah, I've seen some of these before about this new version, 10 GB. It is completely fake. There is a 5 GB memory allocation within the unit, so that certainly seems to not be upgradable, at least at this point in time. Who knows what the company will do in future, but as of now there isn't anything other than the products that you see on the JASMINER's main page. Just quickly as well, they do provide a firmware upgrade on here for the JASMINER series. Here was ours from the 31st of the 12th. This I can confirm does work as well. It installed very nicely, very smoothly on our JASMINER, and I think when we got our JASMINER it shipped with November 2021 firmware, and I flashed it immediately before I even started mining on it to the current version, and it works without a problem. So moving on about where to get the JASMINER from, I do recommend Jingle Mining. There is a guy there who was my direct contact named Bruce. In fact, he often pops up when you click chat with us now. Oh, I think they removed his picture there. Oh no, there it is. That's Bruce. He is a real person. They do have a website, sorry, a YouTube site, which I'll link in the description. And he does a few videos there where he has some JASMINERs, etc. And also he has an F2 pool account with some test JASMINERs on there. Honestly, I don't know if they're the JASMINERs that are being bought at the moment, where they get them shipped from the manufacturer and then maybe they turn them on for 24 hours or something and make some ETH out of them. I'm really not too sure. But their website, I can confirm, is 100% legitimate, and they yeah, they are a legitimate company. So let's get on to the JASMINER itself. Here's the firmware of the JASMINER. This is the overview of my particular JASMINER. You can see I've got the X4 edition, which is the very long server rack edition. And this particular one, I think they have the X series, the big one, the real big ASIC miner. I think that's like $50,000 US or something like this. And then they have the X4 series, which is the 520 megahash version and the 450 megahash version. We purchased the 450 megahash version. However, I'm super surprised by its performance. It is always generally overperforming, and I'll show you that through overclocks in a minute. But as you can see, I upgraded the firmware, and it just gives you some information about the network, my network that it's on. On the status tab, you'll see exactly what I mean. Now this is the 450 megahash version. As you can see, the board itself is doing 521 megahash. This is where we're connected to, and this is my Ethereum address here, the amount of works it's done, accepted shares, and as you can see, it has a brilliant accepted to rejected ratio. And as you can see, 15 hours online. I did have to reboot it yesterday because I had to move its location very shortly, and I had to put it back online. But that is for 15 hours, 22 minutes, 0 rejected shares, and it mines very, very strong indeed. Just a quick word of caution about this: if you're new to ASIC, when you turn an ASIC miner on and you configure it, it does take about 30 to 35 minutes to build the DAG on the ASIC chips. I wasn't initially aware of that, and what ended up happening is I thought it says network connected, hash rate 0, and it sat there for like 35 minutes, and I'm very, very lucky that I kept it running. I did contact Bruce after about the 15-minute mark, being quite anxious, and I said, look, it's not working. And he really, really quickly replied, in fact, at about the 45-minute mark afterwards, and let me know that, yeah, it does take about 30 to 35 minutes to build the DAG. And then it started mining, and of course it had started before that, and everything was really, really good. You get your fans down here, your fan speeds, and your temperature range. I have to say, with the fans, they're these little turbine fans, and they are brutally loud. Now, I know ASIC miners in general are very, very loud. This one isn't quite as loud. I think it comes in as something like 68 decibels or something like this. But still, you don't want to be sitting in a room with it. It's good for downstairs or home, or if you've got a server somewhere, server rack somewhere that you can throw it in and shut the door with some ventilation. It doesn't get very hot, but I can imagine if you have maybe, you know, 6 or 10 of them in there, you'll definitely need some airflow out to be sucked out of that. So that's the overview on the status. In the miner section here, I just set them all to the same Ethermine pool here, whacked in my worker and my password. Down here under the advanced section, you can choose your coin. Now there's 2 coin selections to choose from, ETH and ETC. So coin selection ETH is just the ETHASH algorithm, which means anything that uses ETHASH algorithm can be mined on this particular miner. And I think there are about 12 coins in total. There's some, there's of course Ethereum, and then there's actually a list somewhere. I might pull that list up. I might actually put it in the description when I found it. When I find it, I didn't quite come prepared for that. But yes, about 12 coins if I remember. And there's some metaverse coins that will work off the ETHASH algorithm as well that you can speculative mine if that's what you want to do. And frequency by default is 200, but it comes with this factory pre-installed overclock setting of 225, which according to Jingle Mining's videos, there is no problems with setting it to 225 megahertz. This is not an overclock that is something that, you know, if it fries itself or breaks down, that isn't covered under warranty, which is really, really good. And that's of course why we're getting a little bit of an overclocked hash rate here. They say plus 10%, and 450 plus 10% is around the 495 to 500 mega hash mark. And we're constantly pulling numbers over that. I mean, this is the real-time hash rate, and this is the average hash rate. And as you can see, the average hash rate looks like it's pulling it from here directly. It would be too much of a coincidence for these two hash rates to be exactly the same, especially if that was an average. Yeah, it's pulling it from here, you see. So this is telling you exactly what it's doing, and this is the hash rate in real time. So as you can see, I'm pulling an extra 80 mega hash here in real time from Ethermine. Under network, this is just a standard setup, either DHCP or static. If you want to set yourself up a static IP address, make sure to configure that within your router. Admin is simply changing the administrator password for logging into the firmware up here. And by the way, in order to find out what your firmware address is here, you would just need to open your router, and generally speaking, within your router, you'll see all connected devices. There will be some kind of mind map there under network where you'll be able to see your connected devices. Log is just a log of what the board is doing at this particular time. And this isn't, by the way, in real time, so it doesn't auto refresh or anything like that. You could configure your browser to auto refresh every 30 seconds or 60 seconds if you wanted to just sit here and look at the lines of log. But as you can see here, if you refresh it, 221838, 201838, I think that's the current time. We can come back to that and I can show you that it's actually working here. Upgrade is where you upgrade your firmware. Keeping the settings is very simply, obviously, keeping the settings that you've included in your miner. Rebooting it, I'm not going to click that because it will reboot your system, and resetting it will factory reset it. So overall, that is the miner itself. That's the firmware. You've obviously got a support option down here, which is built in to the firmware itself. That is to the actual company Sunmoon, which is JASMINER.com, and a phone number. You get a little nice warranty card with it, which I'll put up maybe as a picture at the end if I can. And overall, if I navigate to Ethermine, one moment here, just get myself a duplicate tab here. Ethermine. As you can see here, here it is. This is the default worker. That's because we didn't include a name in it, but it is rock stable here. Current mega hash 575, average 530. Load of valid shares, one stale share. I mean, compare that with some GPUs, for example. If I can just choose any of these GPUs here. One as well, but that's only in a certain period of time. Let me see if there are... Oh no, actually it's kind of on par with what the GPUs do. I mean, here's a higher one here. But nonetheless, it's doing a fantastic job at mining. Now, it begs the question, of course, when the DAG file size will be reached. Yeah, this is a good question. 5 gigabytes presumably will give us up to maybe close to September before the DAG is full. And then the question is, well, what do we do? It doesn't become a piece of trash after that, like other ASIC miners do. I don't know, let's say like an older Bitcoin miner where it sucks power, and the expense of power obviously outweighs the amount of coin that you're making per day, unless you presume that the coin, whatever it might be that you're mining on, whatever ASIC it might be, is going to go to the moon. But there are other options with this JASMINER, which is why I love it so much. Not only do you get the option of anything you can mine with ETHASH, but also this is kind of marketed as an Ethereum Classic server. And if we were to put this on Ethereum Classic, knowing that at the end of the day, you know, we haven't had our return on investment after, let's say, 6 or 7 months, it could safely mine Ethereum Classic until it hits the DAG of 5 gigabytes, which I think works out to be about 2029, unless they change their algorithm. So I would say by another, you know, by the end of this year, given the fact we would have been mining Ethereum on it and then be mining Ethereum Classic on it, we'll be very close to ROI on this at about 8,000 USD, something along those lines, considering it makes at the moment around 20 euros to 25 euros a day on Ethereum. Yeah, so that is the JASMINER. Now some positives and negatives about the JASMINER. The positive is, indeed, I can confirm 230 watts at the wall approximately. It does give or take 10%, but it's pretty much around the 230 watts. Noise is okay-ish. Like I said, not next to you in the same room is probably very, very annoying. The size of it is awesome compared to a standard ASIC, like a Bitcoin ASIC miner or something. Very flat. Can put it in a server rack, for example, can mount it, can have some PDUs behind your server rack, for example, and mount 10 of them in a row. Amazing stuff when it comes to size and weight. So the positives are definitely it's something that's portable. It isn't sort of a lunky thing. It's got handles on it. It's made of good quality steel on the outside. It's packaged well. Getting it from a reputable company always helps. There are lots of fakes, like I mentioned before. I mean, you can't touch on anything else that is doing 500 megahash for 240 watts. I mean, that in itself is a fantastic thing to have. I wouldn't recommend initially, unless you're looking at mining Ethereum Classic or some other ETHASH coin in the future, going out and buying one of these straight away, unless you have a plan. Simply because if your own goal is to mine Ethereum until end of days, well, even if Ethereum goes into next year, 2023, by then the DAG size would have made this particular machine obsolete for you, and you'll be forced to mine something else with it, or sell it on to somebody who wouldn't mind mining Ethereum Classic, probably at that point at a loss. So I think if you're going to go for Ethereum, great, but then be prepared to mine Ethereum Classic or something else afterwards. Coffee break. Yeah, so costs for us was close to it was 8,000 USD, something around that mark. Be careful though with import costs, because whenever you get anything from any other country overseas, from wherever you might be, there's always going to be some type of import cost. In Germany, we had to pay a significant amount to import this. It was over 1,000 euros to get this imported. That's just a part of the 19% VAT that we had to buy. Because we do own a business, we did not have to pay for duty, so that's one thing. And Jingle Mining can help you along the way of marking this as a controller unit as well, perhaps. But essentially, you should be paying the correct amount of tax for this, whatever you might need to pay wherever you're located. The negatives surrounding this machine are, of course, the price. At 8,000, I think they might have dropped the price on this 450 mega hash machine now to about 7.5 or 7.6, if I remember correctly. Plus taxes from wherever you live. It's an expensive piece of equipment. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the plan. You kind of got to be in it for the long haul with something like this. Mine Ethereum, and then you have to choose one of those other 11 coins that you've got the option of mining, either speculatively mining on something that isn't so good, music coin for example, which is it just looks like trash. Wouldn't touch that. But you know, Ethereum Classic is always going to be an option that's there. It's pretty stable, and like I said, unless they change the algorithm, then you know, that's not going to change too much. Overall, it is a very, very solid piece of machinery, and the reason generally why I wanted to make this video is because of the fact that there was so much talk about this machine coming out, and where to get it legitimately. 1, Jingle Mining. 2, JASMINER.com. There is a link there and an email to an email address linking in Jingle Mining. I'll put their website and the contact person in there, as well as their phone number in the description, and you can reach out to Bruce about obtaining one of these if you want to do so. Like I said, we decided that this is a smart investment for us. We have a plan, and we'll take it from there. So yeah, it does work. It is real. 240 watts is brilliant. We're going to stick this in our new location when we get it in the start of March, and it's going to sit there and mine happily. The only one problem that I see potentially with this is if you're going to keep this miner remote to where you are, is the fact that I'm not aware of any way to connect to this miner remotely. With my graphics cards, we can connect through Hive, and this is obviously something that we can do remotely. Obviously, if something goes wrong with it and you can't connect through Hive, you need to use alternate methods without having to go to that location. But essentially, that doesn't happen too often. And at the moment, if I needed to make some change, whether that need to be a change of, I don't know, pool that we're mining to, if we decide to mine solo instead of mining to a pool, even if we change Ethereum address for some reason, or any other address, we need to modify this to change from Ethereum to Ethereum Classic and need to update the address, for example, in the miner. I can only see one example of being something like a remote session to a machine that's already set up at that location, like a TeamViewer session or something similar, and then accessing the firmware by accessing the remote machine that's there in order to bring up a website and bring up the firmware through that. So that is one sort of weird thing about it. I've invested only a little bit of time to see if I can connect this with Hive, and at the moment it doesn't seem like it's possible, but I could be missing something. If it is possible, I'll bring it up in another video in future. But yeah, that is the JASMINER. Thanks very much for watching, for listening, and yeah, you have a great day, and like and subscribe. Thank you.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.